Dippy-doo, my friend, dippy-doo. And a dippy-doo to you, my friend. What say you? I say dippy-doo. Dippy-doo, my friend, dippy-doo to you. Is this... Oh, hello. Hello. Well, he's kind of out of frame. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of room in this frame. Dippy-doo to you, my friend. Dippy-doo. All righty. Dippy-doo. Well, how do you do? And a dippy-doo to you. Dippity-dee and a dippity-die. Dippy-doo. Dippy-doo, my friend. Dippy-doo. And a dip and a hearty dippity-dee to you, sir. There, that's your little home, my friend. You're kind of in a shadow. And for that, I'm sorry. There we go. Now he's near a shadow. Look at this ominous. Anyway. Hi. Hi, everybody. A hearty dippity-doo to you, my friends. And a dippity-dee to you. Well, dippity-doo. All right. How long is this going to go on before it stops? Greetings, programs. Your old buddy Hanker and Fernail here. That's me behind the camera. We got session 6 coming up Wednesday night of Hard Suit. There's a lot of anticipation because of the miniature work that I've been doing. Is kind of getting people psyched. And then, of course, as we all know, right in about the session 6 to 8 area is when things really start to grip. If your campaign's going good, you're really gonna. That's when things really start to, you get that feeling of dippity doo. A heartfelt dippity doo to you, my friend. So what I'm here to do today on the internet tubes is not only say dippity dee and a dippity doo and a hearty dippity dee to you, my friend. Can he live over here and still be? No, he's just like kind of in the way. I'm sorry. All right. So if this view isn't ideal, then I'm going to have to say dippity doo to you, my friend. A hearty dippity dee and a hearty, heartfelt dippity doo. So what I need to do is prepare this next session. Now, I am in luck because I know what my players are going to get into. So anyways, let's just get right into it without further adippity-doo. See what I did there? Further ado, dippity-dee. Anyways, I always mark what my pages are going to be. I'm in a bit of an odd position here because this damn camera is in my butt. Hard Suit session 6, y'all. Yeah, like I'm probably gonna make some weird sloppy mistakes, like a G instead of a 6, because I'm at this slightly weird angle here. I got this camera, but that way we can spend time together. Now, hopefully, I don't know if you see this as backwards. That would be terribly unfortunate. I see it as backwards. But if you do see the video as backwards, I'm gonna have to send you a heartfelt dippity-doo on that one. Okay. So first of all, I do know where they're going. Okay, cool. It's not reversed. Great. So I do know where they're going. So we're going to finish out what we're doing in session 5, which you guys probably heard about in the recap, the Trask scene. Okay, Trask is one of the everlasting. He basically, about 70, 80 years ago, sent my players on this ill-fated mission. And so on and so forth. And so I just need to finish this now because of the text thread that these guys have been maintaining. I know that they don't plan on fighting this guy. They really don't want to. They feel like that's a one-way trip. And if they decide to like kill this guy, there's no going back from that. So it sounds to me like they're going to somehow negotiate with him and sort of find some kind of way that they can work together, which could be very interesting. Here, let me get. You're a little bit blown out on brightness there, my dippity-dee friend. I don't want a dippity-doo. There we go. So you should just barely. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to finish out the scene with Trask. So that's pretty easy. Now I know because they told me ahead of time, and because they've been talking in their text thread, that they want to go take care of Warag's red web sort of infection that he has. These red webs are spreading across his body. They have heard that a bolo man down in the forest is able to tattoo these things in such a way that they stop spreading. Hang on. Chutney, why? Why would you do that? You, sir, are ridiculous. All right. Okay. All right. So they know that this bolo man down in the forest can do this tattooing method that will stop the webs from spreading, and that's what they want to do next. Okay, so I'm just going to make a note, like, heading for bolo tattoo. These are just really basic ideas, not even necessarily for me to read later, just for me to start getting my gears turning. You guys know how I do this. It isn't necessarily like I'm preparing notes that I'm going to use to run the session. It's also that I'm just etching things into my memory so that I remember on Wednesday night when it's time to run the session. Okay. So this is there's just a huge dark zone of my frame here. And that's because I'm not good at what I do. Here we go. This is a little better. So let's just get a little bit of a mind map going. Okay. So we have kind of like the crab cave, which is where they are right now. We have their headquarters, which is the cabin. We have the village, which is about to be, or by now is destroyed by the giant iron scale crabs. They haven't gone anywhere north of this spot. And then down here, I have a few things. I have an inlet. So this is the inlet, meaning where salt water, comes in and mixes with a river. We have a river here. This is the Greenbow River. And then we have some woods. And they also haven't been down this far south. Now, in the inlet, we have two things. We have, well, let's just do an X, okay? And that X is a shipwreck and the Jarl. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. And then I think that my man McQueel, who they're looking for, his full name is McQueel Tulrutu. And he is created back here somewhere. There he is. A bolo man, McQueel Tulrutu, also known as Two Bears. He has a bundle of firewood when he's first spotted. He's like paddle boarding on this river. You'll never survive the Greenbow without a guide is one of his key lines, sort of, for me to get a feel for who he is. He's a stout folk, which is kind of like the hardsuit version of dwarves. And then he describes how these special traditional tattoos, which he's covered in, provide you a fail-safe resistance to the red webs. So anyone who spends any amount of time in the Greenbow forest has a lot of these tattoos because they keep the webs from getting on you. Okay. Massive non sequitur there. Don't look at the comments all the time. Okay. So where is he? He's up here somewhere. So I'm just going to say McQueel. Okay. Here's the river. I can't see it because I am a silly person. So I'm going to darken this in so I can feel this river. Now, this isn't a tremendously detailed map, but I just by accident have drawn some bends. And I bet these little bends, like right here, they're going to come into play somehow, but we're not going to worry about that. And then finally down south, this is the Rattlings. Okay, so as you've noticed, I do have kind of a concept in mind already. But I need to get all this written down. I just wanted to stream because a lot of you guys have been asking for me to stream my prep process. Probably just because it just demythifies one of the more difficult part of what we do as GMs. How do you go from having maybe a vague idea that you came up with when you're stuck in traffic to a fun, playable session for your players. Now, there is a road right here that they've established. Here's the shrine. Like, you guys are probably getting pretty familiar. Here's the cliffs. After watching all the recaps and seeing my various posts on Instagram, you're probably starting to get pretty familiar with the lay of the land here in the Hardsuit game. Okay, so let's just break this down into what I think my session is going to comprise of. 1, RP Trask. Okay, then 2, probably like they're going to sort of regroup. And that's where I need to make sure I give them some hearty pull. Down to 3, McQueel. And 4, Rattlings. And we'll get into that in a minute. Now, I do think there might be a 5. I hope there's not, which would be investigating the inlet. If they do that, it's a bit of a non sequitur, but I do need to be a little bit prepared for that. So let's call it the inlet. Okay. These are the things that I'm going to be prepared to host with them on Wednesday night. Okay. The word prepared is so loaded in that sentence that I said. And I think that's the interesting thing here, right? What does it mean to be prepared? Because we do play a game and we live a hobby that is based on adapting to the moment, right? And like adapting to collaborative negotiation and creating the story as we go. So what does preparation really mean? Well, to me, it means I at least have enough of a sense of some twists and turns that can make it interesting. Of course, the contents and the details of any good session are going to be, created in the moment, and you can't just like write them down ahead of time. That's called writing a novel. This is a game, so it's just very different. But at least have a couple of little tidbits to throw out on the table that can be exciting, right? And that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out here. So let's just break it down, because I just like to do things this way. 1, 2, so I have 5 bubbles to fill in. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. Okay, so on the uno, we got Trask. Now, Trask is this old, bitter character. I absolutely never use a screen under Area 51. Absolutely never. Sometimes I'll use a shelf that's near the play area, like a bookshelf or even an entertainment center or something, to maybe hide some miniatures that are going to be revealed. But that's absolutely it. I really think the screen creates a separation between me and my friends, basically, that it's so weird to me. So no, I never use a screen. I'm kind of famous for not using a screen. I wouldn't call it famous. I'm internet famous. I'm a complete unknown in the real world. All right. And I like it that way. So Trask, what are the keys here? Let's just get a couple keys down. He doesn't want to hurt Cypher. I know that. He believed in her long ago, and she betrayed him, but he doesn't want to kill her. He just wants the compass back. Wants compass. Okay, and now I need, I do have stats ready for Trask. He has twin chain swords. He's a real bugger, I'll tell you that much. Very hard to kill. Here he is right here. See this block right here? Oh, wait. No, you can't. Yeah, so here I have a good set of notes on Trask already. No need to do the work again. The Everlasting, who sent the teams. Yeah, this is what I role-played from last session. These are the notes that I used to role-play. Can only die by not feeding. Give me the compass. And then if they do fight him, here's his combat block, and it is absolutely brutal. So he's plus D8 on his rolls. He blips when he moves. He ignores any damage in a round if it's below 50 total. Like, this guy is very hard to beat. So there we go. But what I want to know for session 6 is not necessarily his combat block, which is right here. What I want to know is sort of what could lead them into being forced to fight Trask. Like, if they say, look, we're not going to fight you, bro, but then they try to like walk away, does that make him attack? I need at least like a pillar of knowing his motivations, such that if some kind of condition is crossed with him, he has to commit and he will try to bleed these characters. Because they might talk him into like joining the rebellion. Man, that's tough. That is tough to make a call on without living in the moment doing this conversation. Hey, what's up, Tomato? So I'm gonna have to say he needs to believe he's still on the mission. So even if he sort of joins the rebellion and sort of decides to betray his own superiors, he has to believe that he's still on his fundamental mission. So it's not even that he's loyal to a faction, he's loyal to a mission. And that mission is to find the realm gate out in the ocean, right? This is what kind of started our whole campaign, which, by the way, was not my idea. This was my player's idea. And so this is his term. So even if they convince him of something, or they because I think they're going to talk him into something, is what I feel coming. He still needs to think he is working toward this goal in some way, even if it's indirect. He needs that. And if he feels that this is being betrayed or is no longer possible, that's when he's going to get prickly. Okay, so that's my first pretty easy one. And then don't forget Jensen. I'm going to make a little note for that. Jensen is his fishman bodyguard. And I think Jensen might become far more interesting in this campaign than I had imagined. I know my characters are going to glom onto him. Jensen is like an unfortunate soul who's slowly turning into a fish. And it's like really painful. Like he looks really miserable in his transformation. Okay, so that's Trask. That's the easy one. That's going to be like the opening hour, maybe, or 45 minutes that gets us into the zone with the session. We're going to be talking to Trask, probably rolling some charisma rolls, probably trying to resolve some difficult, not so much arguments, but, disagreements, and find some kind of resolution so they can go do what it is they want to do. Now, regroup is my second major pod here. So I just need some reminders. Okay, weather getting worse. Remember, Bubble Boar is coming ashore. I need to remember that this huge storm is about to hit. And it's bad. I mean, it's like Katrina bad. It's like really gnarly, like monsoon that's washing in. So I just remember that. The timer is held by my player, so I don't really have to worry about that. I think we're like 2 timer clicks away. We make a timer click when we feel the story has moved forward. So I just need to remember that. Then regrouping. I don't have a ton of notes for them on regrouping. They've got their lightning rod. They've got some parts stored in the cabin. Regrouping is really a thing that players can really strongly lead. Okay, now we get to McQueel, which is really when things get much more interesting for me. So does he have a stat pack? I don't know if he really needs one, but easy enough to make one if I need one. Okay, so McQueel. Let's get the basics here. Let's see what my previous notes said. Here he is. You'll never survive without a guide. Bundle of firewood. Speaks Hadrian. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So fishing. Friendly. You need a guide. Will help for help with rattlings. Okay, so this is just kind of the vague idea sort of that I had in the car, which is that the rattlings over here on the map, remember they're right here. Here, let's put a little shrine in here, and look at that. There we go. Bang, shrine. So in this part of the forest, this pack of deranged ratkin have come to either worship or desecrate or just sort of make their barrow under or on top of this rune marker. And remember, in the world of Hardsuit, rune markers protect the world from the red webs and from various monstrous entities. And so when they're not maintained and they begin to crack and they begin to decay, monsters and stuff kind of come into that area. And that's what happened over here in Greenman Village. The rune marker was destroyed, therefore allowing the crabs to invade. And now this is happening down here in the forest. And so McQueel says, yo, I will help you with this tattoo thing if you help me with this. We need to maintain this rune marker. I've skirmished with the rats, but I need your help to beat them. Okay. And so he agrees. This is just the only little note I have right here, but in my head, I'll know what that means. He'll help for help, right? With the rattlings. And then I wanted to have him have a cool saying, which I think is like Ubun on boon. Ubun on boon. Now, this may seem like hankering. What the hell kind of note is that for session prep? If you've watched the recaps, you know that in Hardsuit, in Atria, the world of Hardsuit, the common toast that everyone says when they drink is habaka, which is an ancient language saying meaning for the bridge. And it refers to some ancient battle in which a great many of the people of Atria unified in this battle, and they all fought over this one bridge. Now, this is all lost to time when and where this happened, but now it's just like saying salute. So they say habaka. And I just had that in there as a sort of a random little silly note, but I found that my players really, really glommed onto it. They really like it. And they say it now all the time in our text thread. And even like when we're out at the tavern together, they say habaka now. And so I wanted to bring in one more cool little phrase. And it's another one of these little circular phrases, ubun on bun. And what that means is like a deal is a deal. And it's like this old tribal sort of term for like, you know, I live by my word. A deal is a deal. And so I want to get this vibe. And, you know, he says, my fire is your fire and all that kind of stuff. Thanks, Hunter. And so this just gives me some context for this sort of role-playing encounter by his campfire. And then I think even he of course knows about Ma Ram. And this is really opening the biggest story in Hardsuit to my players for the first time. Ma Ram is the supreme bad guy in Atria, and this is going to be the first time my players ever find out about it. Another thing that I often do when I'm prepping, and for those of you who aren't, you know, quote unquote artists, you can see I've drawn McQueel here, but I'll always draw him again. And I like to have him when I'm playing, when I'm at the table, to kind of just see. I don't know if that makes any sense, but if I can just see a character, he's kind of like this long-haired, stout guy, almost like a Jerry Garcia kind of a character. And I think this just sort of helps me role play a character when I can see them in front of me. It almost looks like DM Scotty there. So it's just a quick little scribble, you know. This isn't like I need some kind of. And you know what I could do too, if you're not someone who draws a lot, just print something out from the internet and just cut it out and glue it right into your book. So you can use that the right brain to do some of your improv. Like, there we go. That's all I need. I just need to remember what he looks like. That he has tattoos and that he's kind of he's a friendly character. He's a grandpa kind of character, but he's also a little bit psychedelic, you know. He's kind of he lives by himself in the woods and stuff, but he kind of chills. He's not like grimy about it. Yeah, and Orcall, you're totally right. Players do latch on to unexpected things, but I think as a GM, remember, you're a customer service agent of D&D, right? You're here to sort of vibe with them, not fight against them. And so if they do latch on to certain oddities and quirks about your game, throw in a few more of those kinds of quirks and they'll love it. All right. So finally, we have the real guts of what's going on here. And this is the Rattling Encounter. So we have rattlings infest a rune marker. That's my fundamental. And this, I just wanted it basically a low danger but high action combat encounter, because we just had a very high danger combat encounter. And I think these rattlings, we just fought like a bunch of crabs. And so I think what we're going to have is something more like 5 opponents, but they're going to be very difficult. So you guys know how I like to do rhythm and variety, right? If one session you have a big swarm to fight, then don't do a swarm the following session. Mix it up and do something strange. And so that's what we're going to write down right here. So just as a crude map, here's the rune marker. And you know what? I'm going to change this bullet point. So you're going to see right here. I'm going to make a 6 right here because I just remembered something. Okay. So here's the rune marker. And then I think basically there is a barrow nearby. It's in this clearing, right? This is as tiny as a map can get right here. The rattlings come out of there, right? There's a little arrow. I know this is pretty small on your YouTube screen, but I think you could probably process what I'm looking at in front of me here. And last time we used like collapsing and stuff as my players did as a combat mechanic, collapsing the ceiling as a combat mechanic. They've used it before. I don't want them to lean on that again because they're doing that a lot. So what I'm going to give them is a contained space. That's kind of new for them. So we're going to contain this. And there's no way to, these are like brambles. They haven't faced that as a problem yet. So this clearing is totally penned in by thorny brambles. Okay, and that's just indicated by that's about it. Here's where they enter. It's just super simple. Is that really anything? I don't know. Just like a ball, it's like a round space with a thing in the middle. Like, it's very simple, but again, it gives me something to describe. Okay, so we're gonna have. Yeah, that's great. Okay, we're gonna have 4 rattlings. And then we're going to do +1 D4 rounds. So they're going to continue to emerge from the barrow one at a time every D4 rounds. Because remember, this is not a swarm. This is like a little team. The feel is going to be like fighting a little squad. Okay, so they're +D6 on their rolls. They have 3 hearts. And then I think they're going to be armed. They have bow plus axe. And they can use, let's make it 2 actions. So on my opening attack for these rattling, it's going to be 8 attacks, right? My opening salvo will be 8 attacks by these rattlings. And it'll probably be mostly arrows, right? Poison I'm going to save for the next step or call because I have a little bit of a reveal to do here. Then, here's my big thing, or call. When only one screech to summon a swamp butcher. Now, in Atria, a swamp butcher is a type of giant, basically a slow, corpulent, nasty giant. And I have that one documented in my book, so I'm going to say see book, because that's in the Hard Suit book that is right over here. Hard Suit currently lives in this three-ring binder. So, yeah, that's how that's working out. So I can use that in play. So we have a combat here where you roll up like, wow, there's the rune marker. Oh my gosh, it's got red spider webs on it. No wonder like the magic of this part of the forest is fading a little bit. And McQueel is like, I think they're around here somewhere. He's like, look out. Out jump the rattlings. We have a combat. Then McQueel, right toward the end, realizes like that screeching sound they made, that's not good. I know that sound. And then out of the sort of the murk and out of the brambles, this big sort of corpulent giant emerges with like a ragged hook. And that's sort of the second phase of the battle. And that is going to be a slow moving foe, but that will be near indestructible by common means. And they're going to have to basically sort of use McQueel and maybe use the river. And they're going to have to find an interesting way to beat this swamp giant, because it's not just going to be a stab him enough times to beat him. I'm going to be a little stubborn and make them get creative. But that's the swamp butcher, and that's going to be the end of that. Now, I'm going to switch. I'm not going to worry about the inlet. If they go there, I'm going to have to come up with a little bit of stuff on the fly. That's where Jarl Greeman went down to fight the crabs and has never returned. So I'm extremely prepared at this point to do like crab gameplay, since we've done so much of it in this campaign so far, but I'm kind of wanting to get away from it. Number 6 now, I'm going to change it to War Masters. Okay, so 4 out of 5 players in my group have revealed their origin. Remember, hard suit plays that you don't know your class at the beginning and you find it through gameplay. 1 player remains who hasn't found his, and he's going to find it on Wednesday night because I need to, he feels a little bit left out. He's the last one to find his origin. McQueel knows about the War Masters. This is his sort of origin or his class. And he knows like that they haven't been seen much anymore. And they're like, wow, you're one of the War Masters, huh? That's crazy, So he's going to tell him a little bit about what he knows about the War Masters. And in so doing, trigger the memories that will give my player his origin. Okay, so the War Masters, they are runed and therefore attract webs, just like the rune markers do. They are the target of Maram. All runes are. That puts my character squarely in the center of the story. And then also he knows of a burial. Now I know my player will be ravenous to find out about a place where people like him from the past are buried. He will not take no for an answer. Okay, so that's just little notes of what McQueel knows about the War Masters and how we're going to play this origin. But I'm going to have to, trust myself to do it in the moment, right? What the exact details are. Real quick, I need some notes here on the inlet. What is going on at the inlet? Crabs. Have left. Ruins of Jarl's ship. Is Jarl dead? I don't know. I want a dice roll to answer that. It's too fun of a question. So you see, sometimes prep is just knowing what you're going to trust to the dice. It isn't just deciding all the truths of the world, at least for me. All right, now I'm going to do the silly part of my prep, which is I don't like my journals to feel like I can't see them. So I always have to go back and reinforce various lines. I know this is silly. Kind of seems like a waste of time. This is the coast here. It's the coast because here's the waves, right? But when I'm in a session, if I have like a boldly inked thing to look at, I always have a better session. Having good drawings just gives me the creative fuel to do a better job at the session. So I'll go back when I'm kind of done prepping and give my journal some love. All right, here's the cliffs. There's the crab cave. Like, notice. Oh, wait, this is the shrine. So there's no road that goes down here. So like this part of, I know this map is insanely crude, but this part is where they're going to be heading south to find McQueel. What happens there? How do you just find a guy in a giant forest? Like, where do you begin and what do you do? I don't know. I don't have the answers for that. I have to feel out the moment, but my eyes, I know in the session, I'll fixate right here and I'll just try to make a believable series of narrative decisions to find McQueel. And if it's like becomes delayed or they bumble in some way, maybe I'll bring out a single rattling to give them a little hint of what's going on below. Or maybe we'll jump right to McQueel and his little campfire, depending on the vibe and depending on like the time of night and all that stuff. I need all that flexibility, but the map gives me a conceptual anchor to make descriptions. And when you really feel confident in your world and in your players as collaborators, you can trust some of this stuff to the moment and not be afraid that it's going to sort of quote unquote flop, right? We've all had flops as a GM. And for me, I think more flops happen when you over prepare. You get this whole thing in your head and it kind of doesn't go that way and you feel flat footed and you feel like you're flopping. This isn't really, hitting as hard and as exciting as I thought it would. And this session kind of sucks. And then, of course, the next day, everybody tells you how great the session was. But feeling like you're flopping in the moment is not pleasant. I don't want to feel that way. All right, reinforcing these X's so they feel like they're on the map. This is interesting too, but McQueel is on the far side of the river. That might become a factor. Maybe I'll get this notion just because I'm seeing it right now. Maybe the Rattlings attack the camp if they tarry too long. Who knows? But since I have this map as my conceptual anchor, all those things feel possible. Maybe they want to go explore upriver into the forest and stuff. I don't know. But you see now the difference? A quickly scrawled journal entry versus just going back with your pen and strengthening your lines. There's a huge difference. So like I have these little circle bullets, right? I just go back and I just put shadows on them like this. What's the big deal with that, Hanker? And why spend all this extra time? It just makes looking at it during play more pleasant. Go back to my McQueel. He totally looks like Scotty, and I am totally okay with that. There we go. So you see, it's just a matter of like just getting more ink on the page so it feels solid. Then here's my teeny little map. I'm going to go revisit this guy. I'm going to make sure that these feel like little brambles by putting little thorns on them. And then again, just trying to get the lines to have more heft. So it's just fun. Right? So you put a little sign on the marker. So I have context for how to describe this stuff. This is a Uniball Vision Elite. And they are absolutely spectacular pens. Oh, hey, Igor. Hell yeah, man. Thanks for hollering about that. We'll talk about that in just a second, okay? This is about all I need, you guys. The rest of the detail of exactly, like I think that prep is often just sort of over-described as being highly mechanical. Like I need to prepare all these stat blocks. And I need to know how many hit points this guy has and the armor class of this guy. And, what the sort of the timer, the threat, and the treat on this encounter are in index card RPG terms and stuff like that. And all those things are somewhat true. But also, sometimes you can just make sure that your concepts are clean. And these give rise to gameplay that you may not have even imagined. That turns out to be cooler than anything that you could have come up with ahead of time. Hey, Greg, how you doing? And so I think that's, letting yourself play and finger paint during prep, I think is where the magic happens. So my prep videos aren't necessarily just about behold the ominous, incredible prep techniques that I use. That really is not my message at all. It's much more just that sometimes less is more. And if you just know your own notes style, you can get a lot out of simple notes. This page that I opened the stream on, if anybody's wondering, this is Metatech, which my characters are about to discover. It is living technology. So it's like a helmet that actually breathes. It's like a claw arm gauntlet that actually has like an eyeball on it. Stuff like, and they're going to find out about Metatech. Now, the fun thing, you may see this little note right up here. Since I've been getting into 3D printing and we've been doing all the stuff with the hard suits, I am going to be releasing a line of little Metatech accessories. So they're accessories that you can glue on to any miniature to kind of bring your miniatures into the hard suit Metatech world. So you're going to look out for that later this summer as I release that part of the Series 2 miniatures. So the series that you've been seeing so far is series 1, like, you know, these guys, the hard suits that I assembled online. The other day, they're painted now and they look sick as hell. I'm really, really proud of them. So there's a bunch of them. Like, I don't know if you want to see some of the craziness, but yeah, so these are the hard suit miniatures, and they came out so sick. I mean, yes, am I tooting my own horn? Of course I am. Why not? Let me give you a little bump in brightness. Whoop. See them just a little bit better. There we go. All right, so that is prep for session 6 right there. Yeah, so there's one of them, and they're big, they're solid, they're epic. What's another cool one? Oh yeah, this guy. I'll show you one more. You guys can keep up with me on my various socials, or keep an eye on my blog, or of course you can jump on Patreon for latest things that I'm doing and what's going on. But these are the hard suits, and I know a lot of people have mentioned that hard suit is a little bit hard to comprehend because are these like mecha in a fantasy world and stuff? But once you see these miniatures, I think it really starts to click what I've been trying to describe to everybody, what a fantasy battle dive suit could look like. That's not quite a mecha. It lives in a realm of fantasy, but has some of the fun aesthetics of mecha. So here's some of the suits kind of together. You can get a little bit of a comparison there. Yeah. Do I have a miniature handy? I don't know if I do. I think he's way over there. He's a little out of reach. Okay, so Alex, you're doing a great. Let's kick off the old Q&A section of the lives here. Just hold on to your butts here. The camera's whoa. Let me move a bunch of things and see if I can. Am I even wearing? I think I'm wearing like a pink T-shirt. Is that okay? Hey guys, see, it was me all along. Okay, there you go. I'm in my room. Here, everything is discombobulated. I'm a mess right now. Oh, all right. So yeah, let's get into throw those questions out. First one is from Alex. The hard suits. These cool little dudes. Look at that little dude. You can see him so crystal clear in there. That's great. They will be available as STL kits for all you 3D printers out there, as well as printed sets that my man Mitch Anderson has been doing all my 3D printer work to help me out. And so he's actually going to be fulfilling printed sets if you want to order those as well. And that will be very soon, probably early July when the hard suit book comes out. So I've got a shit ton of work to do in the next 3 weeks. If I want to hit that. Also, there's a lot. I'm basically going to be a little bit AWOL through almost all of July. So I've got a lot. There's much to be done. There's much to be done. So yeah, anyways, if you guys want to throw some questions out. Oh, hey, here's one from Lee. Oh, what made me decide to go with color? Man, after all this work, Lee, and all the sculpture work and 3D printing and the building and everything, I was just like, I have to just show up on this. I have to bring my game in. I got to do color on these. Here, if I can be insanely risky here, which I can. This is my room. Look at this. Here's the rest of them. Look at that. This is kind of, you're looking at the back of them there, but I must be extremely careful. There they are. These things are so sick. I am so happy with these. And it was basically Saturday. I put in probably 10 straight hours of painting. I'm pretty terrible with miniature painting, so it takes me quite a bit of time. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Yes, Cell. The STLs are pre-supported, pre-scaled. Everything is, and they're also. We really got our technical game on point with these as far as decimating the meshes, so they will not choke your computer. I'm going to put these right back over here. Look how cool they are. Whoa. Yes. Why did I make some money? Mainly just to demo the set. I wanted to demo to everybody. I don't know if we're ever going to have that many hard suits in our game. I just wanted to demo how the set is. They're all modular. You can interchange all the limbs and kind of. There's a lot of fun to be had with your glue when you're doing these. So yeah, okay. So that's those. Yeah, if you have a question, put all caps in front of there so I can see it in the craziness. Delicious. I'm fully hydrated. Anyway, so that is prep for session 6. If you guys are all, I know it's Monday. Everybody's always busy on Monday. It's hard to like throw down with like a long YouTube session. Was sea-based quasi-organic technology one of the cornerstones of a hard suit? Absolutely, yes. I can't really explain what inspired me, but yeah, the sort of seafaring shipwreck dive suit aesthetic is an integral part of hard suit. I think just even the title hard suit comes from the high pressure dive suits that they use in the real world to do deep diving. You know, they have these kind of sphere articulated limbs. They have a really big bulbous, it's not really a head because it's a submersible, right? I never understood why mecha have heads anyways. It just seems like something to blow up. Also a big fan of the Machine Krieger mecha design. And I was just studying it and I was just like, I don't need to lean on anybody else's creation. I can just create my own, mecha in this style and try to show everybody they're not just mecha. There's something that I'm imagining. And it has been a long journey because I think there's a lot of confusion of like, what do you mean, dude? Like what? They're like aquatic dive suits that don't have heads and they're bulbous. What are you, tiny legs? What are you talking about? But when you see it as a finished product, especially that Patreon post I put up this morning, like those photos really show in terrible detail exactly what they're all about. Yeah, isn't it great, Gurna? I mean, I would say one of the prohibitive barriers of what you're describing, Gurno, is 3D modeling itself. And so, of course, I have a background working in ZBrush and 3D modeling, and so that wasn't a barrier for me. I could jump right over that barrier. But yeah, it is amazing now how with some good design skills and some computer skills and some friends, you can go from concept to model to printing to assembly to paint all of your own concepts. It's absolutely spectacularly fun. Is there a fishing mechanic? No, I'm not the kind of GM who would put a mechanic on fishing per se. I would let, if somebody wanted to fish for loot and stuff and conditions were normal, I would just let them roll shabby loot. I wouldn't really necessarily put a mechanic on it. Are you using more minis in play now? Or are you doing abstract? Man, Alex, I'm always moving between. Sometimes I use terrain. Sometimes I use index cards. Sometimes I use little paper things for miniatures. Sometimes we have full blown awesome miniatures like from Hero Forge or from, Metal Monsters or whatever. We're all over the place. I really just like freedom. I don't really stick to any technique. I just like to have a good time week after week. And that usually means changing up your jam. If you're rigid, I think you have less fun. So I think it's always good to just try new stuff and just keep wandering around and keep things fresh. What's your optimal length of a campaign? I don't have any such thing. You can feel when a group needs a break. Not just to like a week off, but needs to actually kind of wind it up. And it's because, especially, if you're, after college, it's hard to just sustain like a weekly D&D group with all that there is to do in adult life, whether it's your family, whether it's your profession, or you're in band, or you have a craft that you do, or a side hustle, or you're caring for a family member maybe, or you're part of another organization that isn't just your job, and like everybody has stuff to do, right? And so you don't want to just arbitrarily enforce the length of a story or a campaign. I think it's a very organic process, and you'll feel when your group is kind of like, wow, we've been playing consistently for months or years. Like, I think we should go for the B-bag and we should try to go kill the big evil guy, and we should like wrap this up because I could use a month off and stuff like that. So I think that's how the magic of a campaign length happens. As you know, I'm a diehard believer that you can only plan one session of a game at a time, and planning any more than one session is anathema to the players really choosing what's happening. And I think them really choosing is as a critical part of good D&D. So yeah, I just don't believe in planning a campaign. You can only plan a session in my mind. Try to get players into their characters' heads. Yeah, sure. That's universal step in role playing. Asking them to describe their feelings to overcome. Yeah, I encourage players to describe their feelings, to think about their motivations, to consider the situation, to remember their pasts, to remember things they've mentioned to me. I mean, putting players inside their characters' heads is one of the fundamental acts of role playing in general. So, yeah, anything to that end is definitely going to work out. Oh, hey, Crow Goblin. Thanks a lot, man. By the way, your channel is really cool. Yeah, here, let's take a look real quick. For those of you who haven't pulled the trigger, this is Easy D6. This is DM Scotty's system. There's going to be 3 books. We're doing this one, a World and Dungeons book, which is next. And then at the end of summer, early fall, I'm going to be the primary writer on the 3rd book, which is going to be an in-depth hero path book that like bends and deepens all the rules. And so some people might look at these rules right away and say like, well, this is a pretty simple D6 dice pool system. It might not be crunchy enough for me, but the 3rd book in this series is where I am going to be the lead writer, and I'm going to crazyify Scotty's really brilliant and elegant system. Also, yeah, those mentioning the artwork, Sean Scribbles Bova did our artwork, and the man is absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy that I sort of got to find and curate his work to create this with Scotty. And this is the first time I've ever been a sort of what you call a second party publisher. So I am the publisher of DM Scotty's Easy D6 books. There's going to be 3 books, and we have got some other super dope treats. For those of you who saw me tweeting on Saturday night or Instagramming on Saturday night, oh boy, are you in for some treats to go with your Easy D6 books. So stay tuned on that front. You know me, it's not just like a pitch, just like buy my wares. You know, we did this. This is a labor of love. There is a lot of thinking and a lot of just happiness in this project that comes through no matter what game you're playing. And thanks, Crow Goblin, for the holler. I really appreciate that. Disappointed with the character sheet. I was expecting something more thematic. You know what? Super thematic character sheets really wear off on me really fast. I get annoyed with them really quick. But if we want to commission Sean to do like a crazy thematic one, I don't see a reason not to. I think they're neat to look at, and then you get to the table and you're like, why is all this stuff all over my character sheet? I'm kind of reaching a point where I don't want to put character sheets in games anymore. I think it's far more fun to just use a notebook. I'm going to have to say, I'm kind of getting to the mood of like, fuck a character sheet. I think character sheets are handy as learning tools. But I really like, I've always tracked my characters on notebook paper or like journal paper. I almost never use a sheet. So, you know, whatever. But yeah, if you're looking for that, just email Scotty, would you, Crow? And give him that idea, and we'll get those gears turning, because that's a dope idea. For those of you who really like themed character sheets, why not make one? Let's do it. Or call started using D20 roll under. Yeah, I saw that you're mentioning that. When you used it, you modify the rolls. Absolutely. Always modify the rolls for all kinds of reasons. So your strength is 12, and you're like, rolling under 12 isn't so hard. And you're like, well, yeah, but you know, this rope that you're climbing is insanely slippery. So take a 3 penalty. So now I'm rolling under a 9, and suddenly that's difficult. Stuff like that. Well, Numenera is too much for me on multiple fronts. Thanks for that, Patrick. Okay, Brian. Okay, cool. Is Easy D6 print version taking longer than usual? Absolutely not. Drive-through RPG has been ultra fast these days. I'm very impressed. And I think they put those really long estimates on there so you don't get disappointed. I've been getting my stuff really quick from them. So just hold on tight and your stuff will get there. A character sticker for basic stats. That's kind of a fun idea. Deep Quantus. Actually, we could do a sticker sheet that has all kinds of fun little tidbits that could be used to stick onto journal pages. That's kind of a wacky, fun, next level idea. We are, and me, and not just we, but I can speak for myself, trying to push things a little bit. I think that just sort of going in little RPG circles again and again and doing tried and true things again and again, I think we're at a good juncture to push a little bit. A little bit like when Pandemic released its Legacy Edition. I feel that they pushed themselves to a new level, and I think that our hobby could use a little bit of that too. So that's a really fun one. Really appreciate that one. Quantus. That's a really great idea. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people will get a new sheet and clean it up and do it between sessions. Card games coming into role playing to me just never works. It never works because you're playing a card game all of a sudden, and card games and truly open-ended role playing just aren't the same thing, and that's okay. And card games are totally cool and okay, but when they smash together, I find that it can be odd. Like cards give you too many answers and too much confinement conceptually, I think. Oh, cool. Statement. Thanks, man. Glad you like it. Yeah, I really cannot stand the latest D&D character sheet. I think it's probably the worst one they've ever done. And they just won't update it. It's been the same for 7 freaking years. No, 9 years. 9 years now it's been. We've been in 5th edition, crossing the 5th edition desert. Together, a caravan of role players dreaming of a day when we don't have to have the world's greatest role playing game on the cover of every damn book. Like, leave me alone. Anyway, all right, guys, it looks like it's 4 o'clock already. That's kind of insane. So that is my prep for session 6. And the cool part is now on Friday, well, I hope this is cool, you get to see the recap. So you can do a compare and contrast. By the way, if anyone's interested, I'm also going to keep the whole role play think going. My podcast, RPG Mainframe, has become a blog. So if you go over to runehammer.online, you can subscribe to my blog where I'm going to continue conceptual thinking about our awesome hobby in a blog format because I really like it. I'm kind of a blog dude. I actually read more blog type stuff than I do watch videos. So I'm kind of throwing my hat in there and I want to play around, do some entries, some theoretical thinking, some cognitive science stuff, get into all the things that RPG Mainframe has always been into. So runehammer.online, you can hop over there, grab yourself a sticker sheet. Everybody needs a thank you sticker. You'll see what I mean if you go on over there. All right. Yeah. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. I will see everyone on Friday. You guys have a great week. Remember, get out there and take care of one another. All right. Will you? Do something good for somebody. They'll do something good for the next guy. And if we all do that, it's going to be a better world. Okay. So strength, honor, and beer. Get yourself a cold one because it's getting hot out there, y'all. And I will see you guys on Friday, okay? Peace. Ba-do-ba-boo.